Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to take a look at the stages of product development. Now we understand the difference between innovation and invention. We understand that marketers use innovations and inventions to create new products and to make profit. It doesn't matter whether a marketer is going to use an innovation or an invention, they still need to follow these product development stages. So please make sure you have your notes. Please make sure you follow the Storm philosophy and sit back and enjoy. Okay, so what are we going to look at today? Well, first of all, we're going to connect product development back to the 4 Ps and really trying to establish that connection. Next, we're going to identify product. What is it? What's the difference between product and service? And lastly, we'll take a look at the actual stages of product development. So before we get into the stages of product development, we need to understand where it falls in the marketing process. Basically, we don't begin to develop our product until we've come up with a conceptual product idea. So the idea of your product, how it's going to be used, who is it going to satisfy, so the profile of your target market, as well as who will be your competitors, who do you have to be aware of. Once you figure this out, then you move on to the product and the 4 Ps of our marketing plan. So the first P is product. Whatchamacallit? Now this is a product and it fits within the marketing mix of the 4 Ps. And a product can be a good or a service, even an idea, which consists of both tangible things you can touch and intangible attributes. Whether it is a product such as a good or a service or an idea, it's going to satisfy consumers in some way. It's going to satisfy their needs or their wants. And consumers will exchange money for your product or some other unit of value. And so product planning or product development are all about the decision making involved in creating this service, this good, this idea, the tangible and intangible aspects. So all the aspects of development that we need to recognize is what we will cover next in the stages of product development. So new products are created because consumers need or want them. There's a gap in the current market. The world doesn't have a product that exists that will satisfy those needs or those wants. Because of this gap, marketers and companies will develop products to satisfy this, that will fill this gap. So the question that every marketer needs to answer, why don't I just create and sell that product? If you can do it, then you will do it. And therefore, if a product is successful, it must have desirable attributes for the target market. It will be unique. And if it is not either of these things, it is doomed to fail. So once you've determined the fact that you need to create this product, you then are going to answer these questions. Can you produce it and can you sell it? This is something that we looked at with a feasibility study. It's something that we will refer to and revisit many times over in the next following lessons. So if the feasibility study finds that the idea is worth pursuing and that it is doable, the product development process begins. This process involves 8 stages, and every product needs to go through each of these 8 stages in order to then be brought to the market, in order to be sold to consumers. So the stages are as follows: idea generation, idea screening, concept development, market strategy, feasibility analysis or study, product design, test marketing, and market entry. You'll notice that feasibility analysis is actually not the first stage because many other stages precede that. However, it is always a good idea to always have in the back of your mind whether or not the product will be feasible. So the first stage is all about idea generation. What ideas do you have? What new products do you think could be successful? Will these new products be inventions or innovations? Whether or not they are inventions or innovations are because some point, someone generated these ideas. An idea to produce a product or service that is not currently available is this first stage. So the idea of a flying car, the idea of an iPad or a tablet device, the idea that you can play video games without using a controller. All of these amazing ideas started at this first stage. So the second stage is all about screening the idea. The very simple fact is that not all ideas are good ones. Case in point, New Coke. Research that if you want to find out more about that. Or McPizza. Another one, Heinz decided at one point that they wanted to make their ketchup green and blue and other colors. Not great ideas. Therefore, marketers need to test consumer reaction to their idea before they continue. Oftentimes, consumer reaction is positive and yet the product still fails. So it's not a definite answer to whether or not you should produce it, but it is something that you need to consider, and that the consumer reaction to your product is something you need to consider. So the idea is really just to throw around the idea, see what people think, get their feedback, make modifications, assess whether or not it's a good idea. The third stage is concept development. Again, not all ideas are good ones. However, if you've received positive feedback, then you need to move along and develop a prototype. Really, the idea here is that you've identified that the idea, the product, is a good one, that the market demand exists, and that competition will not prevent you from being successful. If you've answered yes to these questions, then you will develop a prototype, a sample. The stage will allow you to see the actual product, how it works, and the target market can then be brought in and really see how it works and provide feedback for improvements. The best example of concept development as far as products are automobiles. Every single car goes through this stage, and we see concept cars at auto shows. These concept cars are ideas. They've been screened, and they've created clay models that consumers can really check out and assess whether or not they like this car or not. Now it's time to move on to the market strategy. This is your marketing strategy. How are you going to address each of the 4 P's? You will define each of these 4 P's because you want to ultimately sell your product. You want to make sure that it addresses target market needs or wants. As well, you will identify who your primary target market is and your secondary target market, so you ensure you will reach those consumers. At the same time that you're developing your market strategy, you may or may not be developing your feasibility analysis. So once you've done your product design, once you've kind of addressed your 4 P's, or at the same time, you then need to ask various questions. Do you have the materials and labor required to produce this product? Is the price of production going to be way too high? Do you have the distribution channels in place to get your product to the consumer? And what about promoting your product? How will you do this? It will be cost effective. Basically, again, you are answering this very simple question. Can you make and sell this product while making money doing so? Again, at the same time that you're doing your feasibility analysis and your market study, you're designing your product and continuously adding the consumer's feedback and the feasibility analysis questions and the answers to those questions into your product design. You're incorporating all this information. What will the product look like? The design will depend on what it does, as well as what the target market wants. So you can't just make a product that is just simply functional. It needs to satisfy the target market's want. And so once you've addressed your 4 P's, you've continuously revisited the feasibility analysis, and you've continuously addressed the product design, it's now to go to test marketing. You need to test the acceptance of the product. Do consumers like it? Will they accept it? May they buy it down the road? This occurs by offering the product to a random sample of your target market. This is something that we look back at in marketing research. The consumer feedback in these test markets will improve your venture, improve your product, and determine whether the product should officially go to market. And if the test marketing is successful, it now moves on to market entry. This is where the product officially enters the market. It's sold to everyone. The product life cycle now begins, and we'll go through those product life cycle stages in the following videos. But the life of this product will be determined by the consumers, by competition, and further product advances. And so no matter what you've done up until this point, there's a lot of unknowns that will influence your products, and you need to be aware of these. Okay, so the product development process. Following these simple steps, 8 steps, you will hopefully, not guarantee, but hopefully improve your chances for successful products. You will hopefully gather profit from this. You will hopefully compete with the existing competitors. This process, however, needs to constantly be revisited. You need to constantly improve your products, update your products, stay ahead of your competitors, and so most companies will continuously revisit this product development process. So this brings us to our end. What makes a successful product? Think about the 8 stages. What do you think will determine whether or not a product will be successful? What activities are involved with idea screening? Is it a simple matter of, do you like it or not? So think about these questions. Make sure your notes are in order. Make sure you summarize them and you've provided some discussion questions. And that's it. That's all. That's everything.